Today we're going to be talking about Ashes of Creation that just collapsed in a couple weeks, it feels like, after they launched their game. Palworld developers, pocketpair checks if developers actually play games on Steam before they decide to support them, and Ubisoft has canceled so many games that I've actually lost count. That's what we're going to be talking about today. My name is the Techno. Please hit that subscribe button if you enjoy these types of videos. We do these new styles of videos every Monday, so come over to the channel, check them out, subscribe, hit that notification bell to make sure you're being notified, and now let's get right into the video. Starting with the fact that Ashes of Creation, a Kickstarter MMO project that was funded quite a long time ago, almost, I feel like over 10 years at this point, just collapsed after launching into early access in December of last year. And this MMO Kickstarter raised $3 million and had a bunch of private investing as well. Now, I don't know if this is just a me thing, but $3 million for an MMO is not a lot of money. And it's kind of crazy that, one, it's taken this long, and two, even after them selling a lot of copies, it seemingly means that they are still out of money. They laid off over 200 developers. Their leadership resigned because of the board's pressure, but we'll get to that soon. And it seems that it's just a dead project now. I think the biggest problem is that the CEO's reasoning for all of this is kind of just weird and doesn't really make sense, because he was talking about the board and other influences when he is the board. Like, he is the guy. There is no one other than him making executive decisions. And while updates were relatively frequent over the past 10 years, there wasn't enough, I feel like, that made it seemingly that they were still working on the game. Now, there was a lot of developers, but it does feel like they kind of bit off way more they can chew, and they kind of just ran out of money. And it's one of those things where, unfortunately, I think while it didn't start off as a scam or a rug pull or anything like that, these were people that just wanted to build a cool game. I feel like their ambition was way too big for the amount of money they actually had, and then it became a scam, because I feel like the early access release was purely put out so they didn't have to refund people because there was no money left from the Kickstarter. Because in the Kickstarter, there is a clause that if a game wasn't released, they'd fully refund it. And because of the early access release, they don't have to refund it technically. And they sold a lot of copies at a price point as well. So I'm shocked that they just had zero money left. But also at the same time, shocked that they thought $3 million was going to be enough, because like games like World of Warcraft cost hundreds of millions of dollars from what I remember when it first came out in 2006. And so, like, true, this game isn't trying to be like a crazy powerhouse like World of Warcraft, but it does feel like this is a scam. Even though it didn't start out as a scam. Like, I don't believe it started as a scam, but it does feel like they realized they couldn't do it, at least the management did, and they just realized we have to release something so we don't have to refund these people because we don't have enough money. Then they released something, sold it to people, and then shut everything down. And it's kind of crazy as well, because I'm pretty sure the servers are still running even though no one's technically working at the studio anymore, which is kind of funny when you think about it. And I do kind of feel bad for the people who just wanted a cool MMO that Intrepid Studios said they were making. And unfortunately, it just feels like, even though the developers were trying to make a game, it's just not something they could do. They did technically also release the Battle Royale Ashes of Creation Apocalypse thing, that, if I remember correctly, wasn't really good and did not do well with everyone. And even though technically it was supposed to be like a combat test, it does feel like everyone didn't like the combat as well, which kind of is weird because it's supposed to be a PvP thing as well. It just feels like everything about this game was just unfortunate and kind of fits all of the other Kickstarter disasters that happened, unfortunately. And it's just going to be another asterisk in the land of Kickstarter failures. But hopefully, maybe something can be solved. I doubt it though, because like MMOs cost so much money to maintain and build that even when companies like Amazon can't afford to do it or don't want to afford to do it, I feel like indie companies are just not the way to go. And it's just one of those things with the MMO genre. I just feel like it's too expensive to make now because everyone expects something like World of Warcraft that has had 10 plus years of development and but right away. So it's just unrealistic. And unfortunately, I think other people are also chasing that MMO feel, and it's just not the same. You can't have that same MMO feel you played when you played the first MMO you played because it's not the first one anymore. You'll never be able to do that again. And I feel like people are just kind of chasing dreams, unfortunately. Moving on to pocketpair and the developers of palworld, they recently revealed that they require game designers to submit screenshots of playtime history on Steam. And they said if you don't play games on Steam, they won't even consider their resume for the screening stage, which is really interesting because I feel like that should be a given. I don't know why a game designer or anyone who claims to be a game designer wouldn't be playing video games on Steam as a PC gamer. I mean, I'm curious if someone were to say, "Hey, I don't play games on Steam, but I do play games in other ways, like on console or insert whatever you how you play mobile or anything like that." I'm curious why it's just Steam. But I mean, to be fair, if you are a dedicated Steam player and you're trying to go after the PC crowd, it does kind of make sense, especially with. And then, even as I realized that I said, they do accept candidates with hours on PS5 or Xbox, but they prioritize Steam, which is interesting because they think, and they think that the PC crowd is more hardcore, and so game designers maybe will be better because they've been playing tons of games on Steam, especially considering how there's so many indie games on Steam as well. But to be fair as well, like Pocket Pair and Palworld are kind of the indie darlings almost. They're double A darlings at this point. So it does make sense for them to want to have game designers that are also into indie games because that's kind of their forte, which makes sense. And honestly, I feel like this actually probably is more of a standard thing. This should be a standard thing because I can't imagine a game designer not playing video games on any given platform, like Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, or whatever. And having a record of that and having that part as your resume makes sense to me. It feels like it's one of those things where they said the obvious thing and people are surprised about it. It's like, yeah, as a game designer and developer, they want you to know what kind of games you play because who would be a game designer and not want to play video games? It'd be a very strange thing because in order to understand game mechanics and game systems, you kind of need to play video games and sometimes play them a lot. Like I would trust a game designer to make a factory building game if they have 1,000 hours in Factorio. But would I trust that same person to make a factory building game if they have a couple hundred hours in Counter Strike? I mean, I don't think they could fail to do it, but I'd trust the person with 1,000 hours in Factorio first. Because obviously, any game designer can try to make any type of game. I'm not saying you're shoehorned into the one genre, but obviously, if you have more experience in one, it'll be easier. So it does make sense. And it's kind of interesting to me that this is a news story because, like I said earlier, it feels like it is kind of a given, but I guess no one's really said it. And to be fair as well, Palworld and Pocket Pair, people kind of watch them closely because some people just so desperately want to see them fail for some reason. And I don't really understand why. I don't want to say Pokemon fanboys, but sometimes they are. And it does feel like they kind of gain a lot of hate for no reason. And I just want to say, I feel like this probably is a standard thing for game designers to say, hey, what kind of games do you play? Obviously, in a more official way, because, you know, it's an interview and stuff like that. So it makes sense. And finally, let's talk about Ubisoft one more time, because so many things have been canceled by Ubisoft that it's getting insane. They have canceled Prince of Persia Remake, the Assassin's Creed post Civil War game, Assassin's Creed 4 Resynced. Well, okay, that was delayed. Along with 6 other games that were delayed that we don't know, but we know they delayed them. The Watch Dogs franchise, I think they were working on a third game, but I don't think it's probably canceled. Splinter Cell game was canceled. Star Wars Outlaws 2 was canceled before it went into full production. At this point, I'm so confused what Ubisoft is even planning to do, because we talked about earlier in other videos about their stock just falling hard, and part of this reason is they just don't release video games anymore. Their big name franchises, they barely release games anymore, and it feels like more and more and more that they just don't release video games because they just cancel them over and over again, and they just remake the same one. But then the games they do come out with are kind of just boring, and I'm so confused with what Ubisoft is doing, because all of the games that they've canceled so far sounds really interesting. Like, honestly, I really wanted to play that Assassin's Creed post Civil War game. I think that'd be kind of cool. Now, I am kind of sick and tired of the Assassin's Creed formula, and I don't think it was going to break that formula, but I'm still at least interested in the world, because it's been a while since we've gone to more of a modern day in Assassin's Creed. And I'm really sad about the Splinter Cell game, because though that game doesn't deserve, it deserves so much better. And I kind of understand the Star Wars Outlaws stuff, because it really didn't sell well, but I mean, that's not Star Wars Outlaws' fault, I don't think. That's Ubisoft's fault. Because Star Wars Outlaws, if you took the Ubisoft title out of it, I think people would have liked it more. But because it was a Ubisoft game, they're just so ready to hate on it. Like, Ubisoft literally has a bad name at this point. Like, if a Ubisoft logo is on something, some people won't buy it, no matter how good the game is. So that's a big problem when it comes to Ubisoft stuff. And I just don't know how they're going to even recover from this, because it does feel like no one trusts them anymore, and there's no reason to trust them. They kind of have to regain the trust of people, and they're not doing well because they just keep canceling games, or making it stupid crypto NFT stuff, or getting bought by NetEase. Not NetEase, sorry. The Chinese company. Tencent. They got bought by Tencent, not NetEase, sorry. So, like, at this point, who even knows what's happening at Ubisoft right now? But all we know is that barely video games are being made. I mean, I say that, and they're technically working on 7 games, but, like, are we ever going to see any of these games that they're apparently working on? Who knows at this point? Because more than often than not, one game comes out every couple years, and it's an Assassin's Creed game that no one asked for. But that was the last thing I was going to talk about. Thank you for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. If you like to support me, please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. If you do, hit the notification bell. Like the video if you liked it. Dislike it if you dislike it. I completely understand. If you'd like to support me directly, I have a Patreon at patreon.com/thetechnojelly. You join all of these nice people in the credits, and you get to once a month live stream as well that you can hang out and vote on to see what we do and hang out. If you want to support even more directly, I also have an affiliate link with poggers.shop. You can use my coupon code, the Technojelly, for 10% off of any of their products, the hydration stuff, the energy drink stuff, and the stuff that helps with sleep. If you'd like to follow me on other platforms, I have a Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Threads. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Goodbye, everyone.